Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video we're going to be continuing and finishing some book series that I'm currently in the middle of. So before I get into the video, please remember to like if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read romance, thrillers and fantasy books and I post videos every Sunday. So let's get into the books that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. So the first one is going to be The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armas. This is the second book in the Green Oaks duology. I read the first one back in January and really enjoyed it, and this one is following Mayor of the Town Josie and Adeline's friend Matthew. Adeline was the love interest in the first book. I then have The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is the second book in the Bloodsworn saga, I think this is called. I really enjoyed John Gwynne as an author. Again, I read the first one back in January, really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to get into the second one. This is like a Viking inspired fantasy book. I will leave the links to any videos that I mentioned, like the previous books, in above. I then have Monstrous Design by Kat Dunn. This is the second book in the Battalion of the Dead series. I read Dangerous Remedy back maybe about a month ago and really surprisingly enjoyed it because it's a YA fantasy. This one is set around the French Revolution and there's sort of like magic. It was really cool and I'm excited to read the second one. And then the fourth and final book for this vlog is going to be Cursebound by Sarah L. Arifi. This is the sequel and the final book in the duology for the Feybound duology. I read the first one back in actually one of the very first reading vlogs that I ever posted on my channel and I really enjoyed it and I'm excited to finish out this duology as I really enjoyed the first one. This is like a Fey inspired fantasy world, really cool. Again, I'll leave the link to the first one above. Start with a couple of reading updates. So I have started reading The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armas. I am actually over 200 pages into this one. I don't actually have too much left of this one. So like I said, this one follows Josie, who's the mayor of like Green Oak Town, and Matthew is Adeline's friend. Adeline was one of the main characters in the first book. So basically Josie has found who her dad is, and her dad is a very important businessman. He's like very influential and he had, you know, an affair, and you know, she's the child of that affair who he's basically abandoned up until now, and it's all come out that, you know, she's his secret love child kind of thing. So there's a lot of attention on her and the media are focusing on the fact that she's been engaged 4 times before and they see this as some kind of like scandal. I mean, it's not really any of their business in my opinion. You know, she's nothing to do with her dad up until now. And then her dad sends like a PR crisis manager to her because they're planning on meeting, and basically the PR manager there's a bit of a situation. So she's wearing one of her old engagement rings and the PR manager's like, oh shit, you're engaged again, like for the 5th time. And Josie's like, yeah, and the PR manager's like, okay, actually we can use this. And then Matthew just happens to arrive in the town to visit Adeline, and then Josie's like, oh, Matthew's my fiance. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this one so far. I definitely preferred the first book with Adeline and Cameron. That felt more of like a believable love story, whereas this one, it feels very forced. I understand that like with a sort of fake fiance kind of thing, it is going to feel forced, but I just don't really see the chemistry between them. And I know that they know each other, they've met and they like chat in the sort of the group WhatsApp kind of thing, but yeah, the chemistry just feels really forced. I don't buy it. I don't really see them as being like friends to lovers kind of thing, and I just don't really like vibe with them as a couple. Like, it is fun to read, it's fun being back in this small town where, you know, everyone pokes their nose into everyone's business. I just think the whole concept of like the fake fiance thing, she could have just very easily explained that away, and now she's kind of like dug herself and him into this hole that they now can't really get out of. Adeline and Cameron obviously felt a bit betrayed as well, and I'm just not really loving this one. So far it's more of like a 3-star, sort of maybe 2.5, 3-star read for me. Hopefully in the last 100 pages it pulls it back and maybe I do start to root for the romance a bit more, but yeah, just not really loving this one so far. And then I did also start reading The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. So I actually started reading this one first before The Fiancé Dilemma, and I just wasn't really feeling fantasy at that point. So I've read quite a lot of like mid fantasy at the moment, so this was just like a bit too slow for me at the time. Like, I am enjoying it so far. So like I said, this is like a Norse inspired fantasy world and we follow like 3 sets of characters. Now at the beginning of the book you do get like a summary of what happened in the previous book, which was actually really helpful as there are a lot of characters with quite similar names in this, so that was really good. So essentially we have the main character, one of the main characters, Orca. Her family was ripped apart by something that happened in the very first book, and she's sort of like on a quest for revenge, and she was a member of the Bloodsworn years ago, so she's like with that group, and they are the ones that are like dragon blessed or like dragonborn. You then have the Battle Grim who hunt these people down, so we follow some people that are involved with them. And then we also have another perspective, Elvar, and she's the daughter of like a very influential man in this world, and she wants like nothing to do with him. and we just kind of, that really opens up the world and we have quite a wide perspective of it. I've not done a very good job of explaining it, but just honestly, John Gwynne is a fantastic fantasy author. I just sometimes find there's so many characters, it's kind of hard to describe what exactly is going on. And obviously with this being the second book in a series, a bit like, you know, a bit different to romance, with second books in a series, it's a completely different set of characters. I can't really say too much of what's going on in here because of spoilers. So I definitely say read a synopsis of the first one. It is just really, really good though. So I am enjoying this one so far. I just wasn't really in the mood for fantasy at the time. So I'm 160 pages in, and basically we're sort of setting up where all our characters are to move the story forward. So I just found it a bit slow to begin with, and I just wasn't feeling it at the time. Doesn't mean it wasn't good. So I'm really excited to carry on with this one and see like where our characters end up. I can see a lot of paths maybe starting to like cross over and things like that. So yeah, I am enjoying this one so far. I'll probably check back in with you maybe when I'm halfway through and be able to give you a bit of a better sort of summary and like my thoughts and feelings, but I am enjoying this one so far. So I'm just coming in with a quick reading update for this vlog. I have now finished reading The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armas, and I'm going to give this one a 2.5 stars. For me, I just didn't really see the chemistry between Josie and Matthew. I felt like it was a very forced relationship. I just didn't really gel with it. The smut scenes were very cringy, and just, yeah, and there was like a few bits where like they were doing it in public. So like she has a breakdown in the wedding dress shop, and like they call Matthew, and Matthew comes in, and then they just like have sex in the changing rooms whilst everyone just stands and waits, and it was just like, ugh, like no, not for me. Really didn't like this one. It's a shame because I have enjoyed Elena Armas's other works. I just didn't really like this couple, so that's a shame really. But yeah, 2.5 for this one, but at least it's a completed romance sort of duology that I can tick off the list. Hey guys, so I'm just checking back in. I have finished reading The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. So I'm going to give this one, I think, a 4-star rating, the same as the first book. So in this one, I think I can give a better synopsis now. So still following our main perspectives of the Battle Grim and the Bloodsworn. And then we also have perspectives of like a queen, we have some Jarls, we have the daughter of a Jarl, we have a mother on a quest for revenge and to find her child. There's so many perspectives. We really open up the world a lot more in this one, I think, and there's definitely a lot more perspectives in this one than the first one, which was a little bit confusing at first and a bit difficult to get used to. But sort of by about 200 pages in, I was like, yeah, I think I've got my head around kind of like who's who, who's where, what's going on. The first 200 pages and what I struggled with at the beginning of this book, mainly because I wasn't really in a fantasy mood, was the setup for this novel. It was like this person's here, this person's here, this person's here, this is what they went through in the previous book, let's move on kind of thing. And then we really got into the action. There was obviously a lot of politicking and a lot of character crossover in this one, which is really cool. We've really set up for a very explosive ending, I think. This book did have quite an explosive ending, again, same as the first one really. John Gwynne really does know how to sort of like hook you back in for the next book. Not that I wasn't going to read it, but you know, he knows how to do it well. I also think like he writes battles and fight scenes really well, and like he's really quite descriptive of what's going on. It can be a bit gory in parts. Some of the creatures in this book, like one of the creatures, like she eats teeth, and it just like makes my skin crawl when like you hear about this creature eating teeth. It just yeah, it's just But yeah, this is really, really good. Like, it was 600 pages long, but so much happened in it. I really enjoyed following like Orca's perspective. She's the mother on a quest for revenge to find her son. We had like the perspectives of the people who had kidnapped, or like someone in the group of people that had kidnapped her son, and why her son was kidnapped and what they were going to do with these children. And then we had like the perspective of a queen, and then like someone who was working for the son who then portrayed the son. Like, it was really, really cool, and just so, this world is so cool. So this story has really been thrown wide open along with the world, and I'm really, really excited to read the third book. I think the third book comes out in paperback later this year, and I definitely will be picking it up straight away and finishing out this trilogy. But yeah, I would highly recommend John Gwynne as a fantasy author. Definitely, and this isn't related to the Faithful and the Fallen series, but I definitely start with that. I think you can definitely see how his writing has progressed if you read those series first. This one was really, really cool, and I just love like the dragons in it and like the whole god-born children. Yeah, it's just really, really good. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it a 4-star rating. A really solid middle book in the trilogy, and I'm excited to read the next book in this series when it comes out, or when the paperback comes out, I should say. So the next book I'm going to be reading for this vlog is going to be Cursebound by Sarah L. Arifi. This is the second book in the Faebound duology, so I'll start this one and come back and tell you a little bit about what this series is about. Hey everyone, so I'm just checking in for a quick reading update. So I am 145 pages into Cursebound by Sarah L. Arifi. Got it in my book sleeve so you can't see the cover, so I'll just hold it up. So first of all, what I really appreciate about this one is there was actually a very brief summary about everything that happened in the first book, because it had been a while since I read the first book. I read it back in maybe May last year, so just over a year ago now, and there was a lot of details that I'd forgotten. So I can't really tell you about the plot of the second book, but the first book, Faebound, follows primarily two sisters, Urin and Lettel, and Lettel is like a diviner, a seer, and Urin is a colonel in the elven army. Urin gets like a prophecy told to her, and which says to seek her glory in the east, and she mistakenly thinks this is something to do with the army, leads the army east, leads them basically straight into a slaughter. She's then banished from the elven lands and dismissed, and whilst she's banished, Lettel and one of Lettel's friends, Rayanne, go after her because Lettel doesn't want to be parted from her sister, and whilst they are out they discover that actually the Fae, who they believed were long dead, are actually alive, and then the story progresses quite rapidly from there. I'm not going to say too much about what happens in the book because I don't want to spoil anything, and I think this one is actually really good if you don't know really what you're going into. So the end of the first book was quite explosive, and in the second one, like I said, there's a summary at the very beginning, but the first few chapters were kind of re-establishing where all our characters are. We've got a few new perspectives here, and I'm interested to see where this one's going to go. So I kind of feel like the whole point of the first book with the Elven War and things like that, that's kind of been like wrapped up pretty quickly off page, and then Urin's just kind of found out about it. Yeah, so we're finally getting sort of a bit more plot in this second book. I am interested to see where this is actually going to go, because as far as I'm aware, this is a duology, but knowing my luck, it's probably actually a trilogy. Characters are all really interesting. I do kind of think they're all in different places at the moment, so a couple of them have just kind of come back together, and I'm interested to see where the plot and their growth is going to go from here. This world is really interesting, like the creatures, the magic is all really cool, and it's really fun to be back in this world. I do need to read the other series that Sarah L. Arifi has written, the Final Strife series. I have the first one on my Kindle, but I really enjoy her writing style, and this one is a really quick read as well. I'm flying through it, but it's an absolutely fantastic, rich fantasy world with lots of different creatures. Like we've got the Fae, we've got elves, we've got all sorts in here. So yeah, really, really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. We're going to carry on reading, and I'll come check it back in when I finish this one. Hey everyone, so I'm just checking in to say I did finish reading Cursebound by Sarah L. Arifi last night. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 stars. So Faebound, the first book in this trilogy, it is actually a trilogy, so this is not a completed series, so this is the middle book in the series. The third one is not yet announced or published, I don't think. So that's why I got confused, because on Goodreads there's only 2 books, so that's why I thought it was a duology, but in the front of this it does say that it is a trilogy, so that's my fault. So Faebound I gave 5 stars. Upon reflection, I think I was a bit hasty with that rating. I had just read the 7th Wheel of Time book, and that was such a slog that, to be honest with you, I think anything after that would have been like a 5 star. I think upon reflection it's more of like a 4 star. This definitely wasn't as strong as the first book. This had a lot of just kind of wandering around, not really achieving a lot. We had some sort of like an assassination attempt which took over the whole book really. We didn't really move the plot forward very much, apart from a few like political things regarding the elves, which kind of really happened off page, and then a little bit happened on page, and then we just kind of like were in the Fae court, not really a lot was going on kind of thing. We did have a few discoveries which was pretty interesting. The Fae in this world are unlike anything I've ever read before. Like they have really sharp pointed teeth. There's theories that, you know, legends that they drink blood and stuff, which they don't. So it's kind of like Fae vampire ideology, but they are Fae. So yeah, this one is 3.5. It was a steady middle book in the series, but you could definitely tell it was a middle book. It was a bit not slow, but not a lot really happened. It was well written. I really don't think this should have been dragged out to be 3 books. I mean, I don't know because I haven't read the third one yet. That's not out yet. But I did enjoy it overall. It was a quick read, it was fun, and, you know, getting myself back into fantasy a bit. So yeah, 3.5 for this one, not the strongest in the series. So I'm going to be moving on to the last book in this vlog, which is going to be Monstrous Design by Kat Dunn. This is the second book in the Battalion of the Dead series. This one is set during the French Revolution, and in the first book we follow a sort of found family cast of characters who perform a heist. They try and break someone out of a prison, but it turns out that the person that they're breaking out isn't quite what they are described to be, and all hell breaks loose, you know, hearts are broken, people are betrayed, and this was just a really, really fun YA fantasy series. So I'm not really all that into YA fantasy anymore, but I gave the first one a go because I had bought it a long time ago and I needed to get it off my TBR, and I thought it was one of the best YA fantasy books I'd read in a long while. So hopefully the rest of the trilogy stays that way as well. So this is the second book in that series. I'm really excited to get to this one. I know it's going to be quick, fun and fast paced, and it's in a fantasy world, a magical world that I am used to. So yeah, let's get reading this one. Hey guys, so I'm just checking back in. I am now just over 150 pages of the way through Monstrous Design by Kat Dunn, and I am enjoying this one so far. So it's certainly not as action-packed as the beginning of the first book was, which is kind of to be expected because this is the middle book in a series. So we've been really setting up the plot for this book and just re-establishing where all our characters are. So we have the Battalion of the Dead, and they've kind of split off into two different locations. So we've got a couple of our characters still in France during the revolution, and they're kind of investigating who exactly was after Olympie and all the things to do with that. There's the revolutionaries and the royalists who both wanted her for their own gain, and they're trying to investigate what exactly they were planning on doing with her, what is going on in France currently, and things like that. And then we've got a couple of characters who have gone to England because of something that happened at the very end of the last book. I don't want to say what happened because it's a spoiler, and they are sort of basically just hanging around at the moment. There's definitely a lot more going on in the France storyline, I think, so far compared to the English one, but I think eventually the one set in England will become quite explosive and will get moving soon enough. So this is definitely not as good as the first one in my opinion. It's not bad, but it's just not as action-packed. I think, like I said, we're sort of really establishing the plot, I think, ready to go into the third book. Obviously I am only 150 pages in, and it is about 450 pages long, so a lot can happen in the next sort of 300 pages or so. But I am interested to see where this is going to go. I think the English storyline, there's something quite interesting that's just happened in that. Again, I'm not going to say what has happened, but I think that's really going to move both countries' plots forward because they do have an effect on each other. But yeah, I am really enjoying this one. It's really fast paced so far. Kat Dunn's writing style is really interesting and really keeps the plot moving forward. So yeah, I am enjoying this one so far. I'm going to carry on reading it and check back in with you guys later. So I'm just coming in to wrap this reading vlog up. I did finish reading Monstrous Design by Kat Dunn, and I think I'm going to give this one a 3.5 star. So I gave the first book in this trilogy a 4 star, and I definitely don't think this was as good as the first one. I do think it was like a solid middle book. I do think that there was a lot in this that maybe could have been cut out. I don't know. I have to, maybe when we get to the third book it'll all make sense and things will come together. There was important things happening, but a lot of it felt like they were just kind of like running around, not really doing a lot, and they were kind of separated for no reason and then reunited, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, I think it was just like a bit of nothing really. It was still a fun read. It was really fast paced, really quick for me to read. Like, I've read this an entire day because it's like 460 pages. YA, it was super fast, it was fun, it didn't really require too much like attention, not in a bad way, but like I was familiar with the world. It's not too complicated. I definitely am more interested in like the French Revolution side of things and how that affects these guys' journey and what they're trying to achieve. It's definitely more interesting than like the England side of things. Maybe that's because the first book was predominantly set in, you know, revolutionary France. I'm more interested to see what happens with that side of the plot more so than the sort of England side of things, but I'm hoping maybe in the third one we'll get back to being based in revolutionary France. Saying that, this was a solid middle book, a 3.5. It's not a bad rating, it wasn't as good as the first one, so therefore it can't be a 4-star rating. So yeah, that is that one done. Another series that I'm like catching up on. I've only got one book left in this trilogy now. So that's going to be it for this reading vlog. Hope you've enjoyed it if you've made it this far. Comment down below if you've read any of these books. Let me know what you guys think. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.